possibly like some older Microsoft games coming there just to get people to buy in. Now, Microsoft, yes, they want people to buy their, their systems and things like that. If you haven't been on a Series X or a Series S, they are fantastic. It is. I really love my Series X. I really, really do. But I have every system right now. Now, the one, I'm going to get into that later. But there is speculation that if Master Chief was to come and be like this last character in Sakurai, or for Sakurai in Smash Bros, that they would be, be like a precursor to them at the same time dropping like Halo 1. And Halo 1's feasible on the Switch. I believe it's only like 8 gigs or like 12 gigs, which would be a very feasible game to drop on the Switch. The whole Master Chief collection is too big to drop on the Switch. Like, you'd have to have a 400 gig, like I do. Like, I have a 400 gig SD card on mine, and that would take up a fourth of that whole SD card just for the Master Chief collection. But I could see Halo 1 and maybe Halo 2 coming on there, and that would be a cool little online multiplayer community on the Switch, which a lot of people are speculating would be something big on the Stream Deck when that were to drop. But that's tomorrow morning. I believe it's at 7 a.m. and they're doing a whole direct for that. Also later this month, I even think it's later this week. I think it's later this week, or I think they're releasing it in stagger release. Nintendo doesn't like to box up their releases. They like to stagger them very well to keep the media attention, which is it's just good business. Is that they're going to drop a Animal Crossing direct with a bunch of new content, which it's needed. Now, Animal Crossing doesn't release a whole lot of games. This may be the only Animal Crossing game they release on the Switch, because they just want that game to... It ends up being like a live service game. But that's coming, I believe, next week. And I think it'll be a good thing if they do. I played Animal Crossing for about 3 or 4 months hard, and then I just don't have the time and dedication to it because there's just so many games to play. And my back catalog is just brutal. And for you guys up with me now, or you guys watching it later, I appreciate you guys up on me. There's a very good chance that I will be up on, I'm going to try to get up twice a week at night on top of these mornings. So like either probably Tuesday and Thursday night, or Wednesday and Thursday night, I'll be up on here for a couple hours playing some games and just chatting and getting ready for what's big. The big thing this week, Nintendo's got kind of the big focus this week is they're dropping their OLED Switch Friday along with Metroid Dread. Now, for those of you guys that aren't familiar with Metroid, I grew up playing Metroid. Now, you can, if you have NSO right now, or you have an old school Game Boy, or you have a GameCube, you can play some of the older games, but the more of the GameCube and the Wii version of the games are not the ones that are dropping on on Friday with Metroid Dread. Metroid Dread is like a throwback to the 2D, but it's not just a 2D kind of AAA game. Sorry, my throat. No, this isn't COVID. A lot of my students are like, oh, COVID, you need to go in court. No. In the morning, a little bit of allergy, coffee, kind of the oils in the coffee kind of gives me a little bit of a clogged throat a little bit. Is an homage to kind of the old school Metroids that you had out on Game Boy, which were exceptionally popular. My favorite one of all time was I had Metroid 2, Return to Samus on the original Game Boy. And that was a great, super difficult game. A lot of people, that game was freaking difficult. Kicked my ass on cross-country trips. I ate so many batteries on that game. But it's an homage to that. Now, what makes it... Sorry, I'm popping my ears. So if you see them looking like... Woo! Let's go. It's Monday. It's an homage to that. And just kind of a tip of the hat to that. But what they're really mixing in, what's cool, obviously the modern coloring elements, is they're using a lot of that neon lighting. Kind of, the only way I would equate it to, if you've ever played Astral Chain, well, if you can do really well on the Switch, and a lot of developers are doing this, is it's really good at some of these vibrant and bright color schemes together, almost like a cyberpunk-y color scheme. But Astrotain did a very good job of this, which really added to its art style, which takes away if it's not like super like 4K 1080p high def type stuff. It still gives it this kind of really polished look, especially when you play in handheld mode. But they mix a lot of JRPG, but this is where like Nintendo, a lot of these companies are getting really good, is they're taking a lot of elements from other games that they get really good at. So like, the Smash Bros, when you get the intro to the victory kind of scene, cutscenes, or what JRPGs do. If you've had a chance to play like things like Tales of Arise lately, or what's the other one I'm really getting into lately that's really good? Can't really think off the top of my head right now. But the cutscenes, or like the super cinematic action shots that you have with special attacks and stuff in there, they're using those as cutscenes in there to make the game feel bigger than just a 2D game, which is how they are really pushing to get people up on the game itself. And it's hard, and I hate to break it to you, it shouldn't be hard to sell people on a $60 2D kind of platformer. They're kind of puzzly, but it's a Metroidvania game because hell, it created the genre. So a lot of new age people have not played Metroid, or their only experience is NSO. They're good, they're challenging. I mean, think Hollow Knight, think Celeste, think Castlevania, which just dropped one of their classic collections on the shop. Think of what's the other one I want to get into that a lot of people enjoy on there? And I'm not a big Metroidvania game type guy, but what makes this one a lot different than a lot of other ones, this one has the distance shooting element. Now there is some melee, there is some new traversal in it. I have mine pre-ordered. I'm not a huge Metroidvania person. If anything, I try to avoid it. Brawlhalla, perfect. That's another one I would be thinking of. Thank you for being on there, linking in a mouse. That would be another one that fits on there. Dead Cells too, but Dead Cells had a lot more of an RPG element mixed in with it. A lot of those would be that type of games, and they're very popular. They're great handheld games, which is why they flourished on the DS and the Game Boy back in the day. But I think it's a precursor. Now there's rumors going around, and take rumors with a grain of salt, is that they're going to bring back and remaster Metroid Prime, not the trilogy. Metroid Prime, which is, if you're not familiar, is where they took Metroid from a 2D to 3D, which is very, very popular. And so there's rumor that is going to be released next year. Now the other thing that drops on Friday, which I would love to get my hands on, which I just don't have the fun, even if I trade in I have a V2 Switch. If I were to trade it in and get it, I just don't have the money to do it. I'm short quite a bit on that, like about $150 or so, even with the trade-in, and even I don't even know if I can get my hands on one. Is the OLED Switch, or the OLED Switch? I say OLED, but they call it OLED, but it's an OLED. And what the OLED Switch is dropping now. There's rumor that they're coming with the 4K Switch because Bloomberg released a report where they talked to about 12 different developers that said that they have a 4K capable dev kit. If you don't know what a dev kit is, it's a kit that gaming developers get where they get the code and all of the nuances of the system, so that when they develop a game, they are able to know exactly how their game's going to interact with all the operating, the OS system, the coding system of the actual console itself that it's operating with, or the system software that's operating with. And there's conjecture and rumor coming out that there's a 4K Switch coming and stuff like that. A lot of these people that got dev kits You got to realize gaming development, any game that they get is a 3 to 5 year process. And with COVID, you might as well look more to 4 to 5 year, if not 5 years, your development cycle. And so a lot of people thinking like they're going to drop a Switch Pro next year, which is possible. But the hardware shortages are getting really bad again, which even if they were to even drop a Pro model, and I think the reason they're dropping the OLED now, in my personal opinion, just the way you look at marketing cycles and keep the cash flow going, is that they're trying to get people that already have a Switch to buy a new one and another one to just keep that cash flow going. Because yes, software is not an issue right now for Nintendo to move. I think there are about 100 million. By the end, there's going to be about 100 million Switch adopters, and in almost the 5th year, within 5 years, that's unheard of. And so, I mean, the original Switch, I think that one's going to be really cool. That one obviously is geared more towards the PS5. Now, I'm hoping it drops in 2022. I would cross your fingers on that. They're having a lot of hiccups with games right now. And I think it's going to look great. I think Avatar, I love the movie Avatar. The storyline, a lot of people bash on it, and it's too cute. It's, it's too this, too that, whatever. We're hella desensitized to themes that have really good plots and stories in them, but we need to be shocked to like it. The original Avatar's theme is it's just me as a history teacher that teaches world history and U.S. history, not as much anymore. It's referencing colonization and the impact of colonization on the native population, whether it be the local habitat or whether it be the indigenous population out there. And if you don't know, indigenous is not a negative term. It's not a primitive term. It's just a term referencing the people that are local there, that have been there, that is their habitat, that is their living environment. It's basically referencing the impact that industrialization has on very I wouldn't say civilized cultures. I would say cultivated landscapes is a better type of thing like that, because to assume that tribal-like things like that are not civilized, in some cases are more civilized than we are. We're more primitive when it comes to entertainment, things like that. They value things that tend to be more valuable, like food, taking care of one another, looking after one another, the good of kind of just the betterment of each other, and everyone is willing to help everybody out. And so, but that's what the premise of Avatar is. But we consider it stupid. It's not like The Purge, where basically let's just go kill everybody for fun for one day because I want to be the biggest and baddest in the world. That's what kind of the messed up aspect of it. I mean, it's a game that really looks to how humanity impacts other cultures when your culture and your need for money supersedes ethics and your impact on others, and allowing others to function within their own right. That's not to say I'm a socialist. No. Our culture doesn't know how to be equal and right and things like that. But anyways, it looks great. If they really talk to, and I think they've been working hand in hand with James Cameron, which allows you, when you have the original director involved in the project. Now, that has not gone well in the past, i.e. George Lucas, i.e. Steven Spielberg, when it comes to games and things like that. Those have not gone